Hello, welcome everyone to our lightning session. This session is going to look at practical tips for taking more ownership at work, and it's been led by Kunmi. So, welcome, Kunmi. Over to you.
Hi everyone. So I'm going to be talking about practical tips to take more ownership at work and hopefully bring out some actionable ways that you can demonstrate this skill from the perspective of a mid-level engineer. So let's get into it. This is a little bit about me and my squiggly path to becoming a software engineer. I don't have a computer science background, and I actually studied kind of a combined honours degree, but with a major in geography at university, and then worked in startups whilst also taking part in some like Code First Girls courses in the evenings and like building up my technical skills that way. And eventually did a longer term bootcamp with the School of Code, which led to my first dev role. So yeah, I've been working as a software engineer for about 4 or so years now, and I'm currently working in the web team at The Economist. So why ownership? I found like personally, like the mid-level is quite a vast space. There's maybe like slightly less information about how to navigate it compared to if you're someone who's trying to break into tech, or if you're like a senior who's trying to like upskill into like management roles. I found that there's been a little bit less information in the mid-level. But as I've been researching, looking on blog posts and Instagram stories and Medium articles, I began hearing more and more about this term as ownership, um, and thinking about how I could incorporate it from my lens. So the best place to start is with a definition. And I think if you put in ownership into Google, like one of the simplest definitions that you'll see is something like this, like taking responsibility for the success of the work on a project. And I think initially reading this, I felt like this was a bit of a big, intimidating idea, and maybe something reserved for as a more like solitary thing where you'd be leading like the whole entire project. Um, but I think it's important, and like breaking it down, I've now started to think about it as a bit more of um, like a combined skill in which you can just like take ownership of certain tasks within a project, which can lead to like a whole product success. So you're definitely not the only one responsible for the success or the failure of a project, but you might have a bigger influence over the outcome. And I want to caveat this with like, for you to be able to take ownership in your workplace, there are some things that are required, such as like having a high trust workplace, which is in which you feel like psychologically safe. Um, and that's important so that you feel like empowered to maybe raise your hand and put forward ideas, and also feeling safe to kind of ask for support when needed. So yeah, that's a caveat. If you do want to start taking more ownership at work, check your actual environment as well. And so now with this definition, we can start thinking about some ways that I have found that's helped me to show ownership. So a key theme of like taking initiative is often comes up. But what does this actually look like in practice? So a newsletter popped up into my inbox the other day. It had a really alluring title of like 3 ways to be really successful in your career. And the first one was become an aggressive value contributor. And I guess for me, the term like aggressive and like success in my career, like they don't necessarily go hand in hand. Um, and maybe I'm like to think about it a bit more in like creative value and like using like an MVP mindset. And then this writer went on and like described how they took ownership of within their project by writing lots of tests. But in order to get these done, they spent their whole weekend writing the tests, which also didn't fit into my mindset of work-life balance. Um, so for me, like I think taking initiative often starts with me thinking about like what is bothering me on a project. what processes are feeling clunky, like who are the people that I keep having to go to find the information, like where is the knowledge siloed, what is like a bad developer experience that I found. And I start there and I think about how I can like improve that. So for example, I was working on a membership platform and we had a um, subscription model. We launched with like in an MVP way. So we launched with a subscription model, and at the time there was no way for users to cancel their subscription. So we're coming towards the end of this subscription, and alarm bells are ringing for me, and I'm thinking, as if I was a user of this product, I'd want to know like in advance how I can cancel my subscription. And this was a key issue that I kind of kept bringing up at stand-ups. And I felt like there was kind of shared understanding that it was an issue, but maybe not quick enough action to resolve it. And it was starting to bug me. So I just you can kind of see here on the slides, like this really kind of small flow chart that I produced as part of this. So I spent like an hour and I made a flow chart of all the different flows that would happen that we could use to create this cancellation and subscription process. And I outlined like what happens if we do nothing, what happens in all our different services if we do like a minimum viable option, and what happens in all our different services if we have like a very nice like custom option. And having this like flow chart kind of helped the team like easily map out like a great way that we could quickly improve the cancellation process for users. And it was a positive for me because it meant that I had to get like better depth of the product as well to be able to map that out. And then it resulted in a nice MVP solution that we launched for those users. And within that, like another practical thing that I found is, I guess, just generally improving your confidence in your team. And a way that I'd like to think about improving myself is by getting lots of little bits of feedback. And within that, trying to be like specific when I'm asking for that feedback. And I think it helps you understand where you're doing well, and then it gives you more confidence to kind of, I guess, champion things throughout your team. Something that I do that I've shown here on the slide is just I'm a bit obsessed with Notion. I've got a whole like reflection section. I have like reminders and weekly reminders to kind of reflect on a weekly basis. I have this whole section for like performance reviews, and it just kind of forces me to track wins, track any challenges, and yeah, any points of note that I have thought about like improving within the project. So just like what can I use in my 10% time to improve the project that we're currently on. And yeah, some things that I also have wider on my Notion is like brag, which you can see there, and that is just like a page which I will write like all the small wins that I've had. And yeah, it's just nice to go back and reflect on all the amazing things that you've done, especially on those low moments that we may all inevitably have. But yeah, Notion works for me, but figure out what works for you, whether that's like using written forms. And then another way that I think about like taking ownership is like increasing my breadth of learning and understanding. So a big way that I do that is through leaning on support and leaning on communities to kind of improve my understanding of an industry. So coming to events like this, Coding Black Females have offered lots of great mentorship that I've taken part in. They've offered me great courses, which I've also taken part in. And yeah, continuing to like catch up with people, check in with people that you've maybe met at these events and seeing how they're getting on. So some of the images here is like the She Bites Back that Amber had runs, Black Tech Fest, a conference with GraphQL. That was a GraphQL conference, and a bit more of a maybe like random one here was like Netball Noir. So that is a Black women's netball group that I've been going to recently, and yeah, just speaking to people. You never know when it will happen, but just speaking to people at this netball group. I've met engineers, I've met people in very cool adjacent industries, and yeah, it's a great way to just improve your network and breadth of learning that you can bring to your everyday work. So, just to summarize really quickly, underpinning all of this is having a psychologically safe environment and a high trust workplace. But for my version of ownership, thinking about what's bothering me, making sure I've got support outside of my existing company and community, and then like tracking all the ways that I've improved or thought about benefits that I've had on the team has really helped me to kind of build my confidence and have more ownership in my current role. So we've got a few minutes left. Thank you. You can add me on LinkedIn, and if you have any questions, please share. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was really great. Thank you, Kunmi, and everyone giving congratulations and applauses in the chat. If you have any feedback, please provide that to us. And have a great afternoon, and we'll see you in the next session.